What's up you guys, Zarati? Welcome back to our channel. Today is the first video on personality, and personality is who we are, our attitude, our reactions, physical or emotional. It's our unique way of thinking and feeling and reacting throughout life. And whenever I think of personality, I tend to think about psychodynamic perspective, which is given to us by Sigmund Freud. Before we start understanding the structure of our mind, let's try to understand where did Freud get this idea about the mind. Okay, so he was born in Europe during the Victorian age, when that was a time when people were told by the church that they are not supposed to engage in sexual activities unless they were married and unless they wanted to have kids. They were not supposed to enjoy the sexual intercourse as well, because that was considered as a sin. So these were the things that were told to those people back then by the church. But the world is still a male-dominated society, and it was back then as well. So whatever men wanted, whatever men felt, that was totally acceptable. So they felt that they could not control their animalistic behavior. That was all okay. So they used to bear children with their virtuous wife, and then they used to get their sexual desire satisfied by turning to a mistress. But that virtuous wife, nobody thought about her. Even now it's like a taboo, and nobody actually agrees or believes. Nobody talks about it because, like I said, it's a taboo that even women have sexual desires. We do have sexual feelings as well. So even in 21st century, if nobody talks about it and nobody accepts this fact, imagine how it would be back then, many years ago. So because of this, women lived their lives sexually repressed, and this is how Freud came up with explanation for abnormal behavior. Most of his patients were these virtuous wives, these wealthy virtuous wives who had been living with a man who was not fulfilling her sexual desires. So this is how Freud came up with explanations that sexual repression is actually causing abnormal behavior. So Freud believed that there are layers of consciousness in our mind. He said that there are 3 parts of consciousness in our mind. First, we all know this, conscious mind. This is the mind where we are aware of things around us, surrounding us. The second is the preconscious mind, which includes all the memories, information, events that can be easily brought into our conscious awareness. And these 2 types of mind, conscious mind and preconscious mind, is something that nobody will debate on, because conscious mind is aware. We all know about it. Preconscious can be brought into awareness. That's why it's okay. But some people, actually back then, I think all of them had trouble accepting unconscious mind, because the unconscious mind is, it includes all the memories and thoughts that cannot be easily or voluntarily brought into our conscious awareness. So this is the mind that the things in our unconscious mind kind of surface in very symbolic form, like maybe in dreams or even in behavior that we may not understand why we are behaving the way we are behaving. Based on the observation of his patients, Freud believed that our personality can be divided into 3 parts that exist in 1 or more levels of conscious awareness. First is id. Id in Latin means it. It is the first and the most primitive part of the personality, which is in children, which is in infants, babies actually, not even children. It is totally unconscious. It is pleasure seeking and an amoral part of the personality. So it exists at birth. So like I said, it's in babies, so it exists from the day we are born, sort of, and it has all the basic biological drives like hunger, thirst, sex, etc. Hold on. Did she just say babies have sex drives? So Freud didn't mean sex drive. By sex drive he meant pleasure. So babies do seek pleasure from chewing or by sucking on things that they can hold on and they can put it into their mouths. That's how they seek pleasure. So if you think of baby's behavior, it will give you a good picture of what or how it is, because babies are demanding, they are irrational, they are illogical, they just want what they want immediately. They don't care if their mother needs sleep, they don't. If they want, they're hungry, they need food. If they are wet, they need to get their diaper changed. They just want what they want, and that's exactly how it is. It wants what it wants, and this is known as a pleasure principle. Pleasure principle is the need to get immediate gratification without any regard for consequences. So the easiest way to understand it is, if it feels good, do it. So when babies are babies, they want their needs to be immediately satisfied, right? Immediate gratification, pleasure principle. When they're hungry, they need food. When they're cranky, they need attention. When they're wet, they want the diaper to be changed, blah blah blah. But when babies grow up and they are children, adults start to say no to them. They have to hear the word no a lot. They have been told, don't touch this, don't go there, don't do this, etc, etc. And this causes to develop the second part of the personality called ego. So the word ego in Latin means I. Ego is mostly conscious, it's rational, it's logical, and it's cunning than id. It works on the reality principle. So id worked on the pleasure principle. Now id worked on the pleasure principle, ego works on the reality principle. Ego will let it have what it wants if there are no negative consequences, but ego will deny it its desires when ego thinks that there could be painful or unpleasant consequences. So to help you understand a little bit, let me give you my example. When I was a kid, I would be told by my mom not to eat the chocolate that's in the fridge. So the id in me really want the chocolate, but ego knows that I shouldn't, because I'll be punished by my mom. She'll stop talking to me, she'll put me in a corner, whatever my mom should do back then. And I didn't want those consequences, so the ego will kind of control my id for a while, the id in me for a while, until my mom is sleeping or she's not in the room or she's gone out the market or something, and then I will go and get the chocolate. So in this way, the id gets what it wants and ego kind of helps it get it without any negative consequences. So the easiest way to understand ego is that if it feels good, do it, but only if you can get away with it. Now the third and the final part of the personality is the moral personality, which is superego. Superego in Latin is over the self. So superego is developed in a preschool age child, when this child starts to understand and learn the rules and the expectations the society have of us. So the superego helps us to know what's right and wrong as a kid, and we start to build this conscience, not conscious, conscience. So superego actually makes us feel guilty or makes us feel moral anxiety when we do something wrong. So superego is the reason why we know what's right and what's wrong as a child, and even as we are becoming adults. So if you have seen any of the cartoons like Tom and Jerry or any of the cartoons, they always show an angel on one side and a devil on the other. So you can you can think of the superego being the angel and id being the devil, and these two are like telling the person, which is the ego here, that oh, we should do this and we should do that, and whereas angel is saying no, 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 we shouldn't do this, this is really wrong. So that's one way you can understand id, ego and superego. But let me just point out here that even though I characterized id as the devil, it's not evil, it's not completely bad, it's a survival mechanism. So as a kid it is very, very necessary, but as we grow up we don't really need it a lot. But if we keep listening to our id, it is dangerous and harmful. So anything in excess is bad. Always remember that. We need some balance, we need some ego in our life. So like I said, there needs to be some balance. So id will always make demands ki mujhe ye chahiye, I want to do this, and the superego, being the moral principle, will put restrictions on the demands, and ego has to find a balance between the two, like let it have its way but also satisfy the superego. Or sometimes id cannot have its way and he has to satisfy the superego, so he has to find a balance to satisfy both of them or either of them. And this balancing act is really hard for ego, you know, it's not always easy to do it, and that causes anxiety in us. And this constant state of conflict is what Freud called as how our personality works in general. And this constant state of conflict, this anxiety that we feel, this gives rise to abnormal behavior, and we tend to deal with this kind of anxiety by distorting our reality, and we do this by using these psychological defense mechanisms, which would be a different video. It's super interesting to see how we distort our reality to serve us and why we do it, and all of that. So I'm going to make a separate video on it. Till then, please hit this video with a big thumbs up. Please subscribe to this channel for the defense mechanism video and for other psychology and mental health concepts, and I'll see you next Friday with another psychology video. The third and the final personality type